Estamos. So I'm reporting live from seat 12B of this American flight that was supposed to leave from Sioux City a couple of hours ago, and we're on the tarmac. We've been given permission to go back to the gate, where we can stay on here on the chance that this flight really makes it into Chicago. Apparently, very bad thunderstorms. They've canceled all incoming flights and maybe outgoing flights from Chicago, so it's a real bottleneck. So we may very well spend the night in Sioux City, depending on what happens, which would be a great thing. We'd be very happy to do that. Or we might make it to Chicago, or we might be going to some third city. Who knows? Stay tuned, and we'll let you know. And Cynthia's on her iPhone checking in with headquarters, trying to get direction and guidance. But we thought, as long as we are grounded on the tarmac, this would be a great opportunity to give a big thanks to everyone who came out and saw us the last couple of days in Iowa. We had perhaps one of, if not our best visits. This was our 7th visit to Iowa. We started with a visit to the AARP convention in Council Bluffs. Amazing opportunity. Oh, sorry. This was in Sioux City. Council Bluffs was the night before, where we had. What's that?
The forum, the AARP forum.
Yeah. This is the programs. You see, Friday the 14th was the AARP forum, and that was in Sioux City. The night before was in Council Bluffs, and we went door knocking that next morning. And some of you have heard this story, but not a lot of people home on a Friday morning when you're going door to door. But we wanted to support our field organizer, Owen, who is out there organizing for us in Council Bluffs. So we knocked on doors with him, and lo and behold, got to meet some really great people, including a public school educator who's trying to catch up on everything going on in her life with a little bit of time off, and told me that she hasn't yet started following the campaigns or the election or all the candidates. So it was a great chance for me to introduce myself to her. And then met a man who just moved from Omaha to Council Bluffs, in part because he's found out that he's sick. He has pancreatic cancer and is trying to enroll in Medicaid in Iowa, living in a trailer right next to his friend's home. Really just got to learn a lot about him and his life, and also get to see some really amazing art that he had made. One of the pieces that he showed us, we're going to purchase and hang in our field office in Council Bluffs. Then later that day, we came to Sioux City, and that is when we were at the AARP convention. And we really liked the format of the convention and the Q&A. It was no speeches, just directly answering questions from the moderators and from people in the audience. And then afterwards, getting to spend some time with those who had come out, just getting to say thanks, trying to gain commitments for them to caucus for us, and just having some really good conversations.
So folks want to know, why are you in an empty plane? It's not a private plane.
Why am I in an empty plane? No, we purchased a ticket on this American Airlines flight that has effectively been grounded, at least for the time being. We were told by the pilot that we were free to leave and go wait in the terminal at the gate, or we could stay on the plane. And we just thought, sitting here, sitting there, what's the difference? So we'll just stay on the plane and be ready in our seats should this flight take off. So that's why we're on this airplane. Thank you for clarifying, Cynthia.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody else made it.
Private
No,
planes for this
no
campaign.
private plane.
We're putting your $5, $10, or $15 to use in making sure that we make the most out of every penny that's committed to this campaign. No PACs, no corporations, no special interests, all people. And if you would like to join others who have contributed to this campaign, you can go to BetoO'Rourke.com and make a contribution. You can sign up to volunteer, or you can just find out what this campaign is all about. Read about the positions that I've taken on the issues that you care most about. But to continue our recap, for those who have not been tuning in to the live stream over the last couple of days, we then went to, correct me if I'm wrong in this, the Diving Elk, which is a great bar in Sioux City, where we had a town hall. I introduced myself, I took questions. We sampled a local IPA that was absolutely delicious. And again, just got to meet really wonderful people, including a young woman, and Kat, you may remember her name, who drove 4.5 hours from Topeka, Kansas to come out to ask a question. Brandy with a Y. Brandy with a Y, thank you for coming out. It was an honor to get to meet you, to answer your question at the town hall, and to know that you're out there fighting for us in Kansas. Coincidentally, where our pilot is from,
Right.
who just introduced himself to us. He said he doesn't often greet the passengers on the plane, but he said since there are only 6 of you who've stayed aboard, I'll come back and say hello. So the Diving Elk, great event, and we're grateful to everybody who came out. Then after that, we went to a house party, local Democrats in Sioux City, including the county chair, and again, got a chance to introduce myself, answer questions, and also just hear ideas that people had. Met a special ed teacher, great public school educator who wants to make sure that we're standing up and fighting for teachers and educators, restore collective bargaining rights here in Iowa and in every state for public servants, replace Betsy DeVos with someone who has real experience in a classroom as a public educator. Really great ideas came out of that town hall meeting, including really good questions around climate and gun violence, and just how we make sure that we bring this very divided country back together again. This morning, I got to go on a wonderful run along the Missouri River with J.D. Scholten. For those of you who do not know him yet, he's someone to watch. He ran against Steve King last year, came within 3 points of defeating him, and did so by running a campaign very reminiscent of ones that we're familiar with, going everywhere, talking to everybody, not writing anybody off, going to the most conservative counties in Iowa and just listening and bringing people in and showing up with the courage of his convictions. He was kind enough to be with us at the events yesterday and then to take me on a run along the Missouri. Beautiful river, beautiful morning, and we ran past this point where the states of Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska all come together. And I told him we've got a 3-state connection in El Paso where Texas, New Mexico, and Chihuahua all come together. 3 states, 2 nations. So there was, something that was really cool about that. Great run. It wasn't too hot, although it's been hot lately, but this morning was actually kind of cool. Then we went to La Juanita, which is been ranked one of the 10 best burritos in the United States of America. I don't know who makes that ranking and who the arbiters are of burritos in this country, but I'll have to tell you, coming from El Paso, where I really think we hold our own, this was one of the best burritos that I've had. Carne asada. I got to meet Christina and Victor, who started this restaurant 20 years ago. Immigrants who, and this is a great example, have made this country that much better by choosing us, by starting a business, by hiring others, by creating economic growth and opportunities and improving quality of life and making really good burritos. And they were extraordinarily generous and kind and warm and welcoming. Introduced us to 2 of their 3 children, Yasmin and Johnny, and then the other kitchen staff who, Cynthia, how long do you think it took them to make a burrito?
They were fast. I
Like
don't know.
under
It was probably,
7 seconds maybe?
Yeah, and they were delicious.
With all the ingredients and the toppings and wrapped up in tin foil and in your hands. And I think they've had to practice that because they stay open till 2 or 3 a.m. And I think they have a large surge, maybe as the bars close in Sioux City, but also a great place to grab breakfast or lunch or any meal. And we also were lucky to meet some people who'd driven up from Storm Lake, who took the opportunity to introduce themselves to us, one of whom was from McAllen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley. And so we just talked about the pride that we have coming from the U.S.-Mexico border, the pride that this woman has raising her family in Storm Lake, but also holding on to culture that she brought with her from the Rio Grande Valley, that is such an important part of her life and is enriching Storm Lake and Iowa and this country as a result. And then the last visit was in Sioux Center, Iowa, where we went to the Fruited Plain.
Yes.
The Fruited Plain.
Cafe. Fruited Plain Cafe.
Fruited Plain Cafe, our favorite restaurant in Sioux Center, Iowa. And one of the owners is in a band called Ruralize. And Cynthia, do we have their CDs?
Oh, I think you have them.
Shoot, I don't know where I put them. But one of the owners gave us his CDs. Here we are. The Ruralists. I got the name wrong. The Ruralists. So not only are they entrepreneurs, not only are they making a mean cinnamon roll and a great ham and cheese, which is what I ate on my way out, but also a musician. He plays guitar, and unfortunately the van that we rented did not have a CD player. I guess they're not making those anymore. And so I just have this to hold on to until I find a CD player, maybe when I get back home to El Paso. But we're grateful to the Fruited Plain and to everybody who came out. Folks who came from the surrounding counties, people who came from South Dakota, all of whom came not for the candidate or the political party, but because of where we are in this country at this moment, and they want to make sure that they're part of the conversation. So very grateful to them. Eric and Erica, who helped to organize this, who our campaign got in touch with because they came to one of those Lights for Liberty events where they stood up for children who've been caged or separated or are detained right now and unable to join their families and really living in some kind of horrific conditions right now in detention centers and jails all across this country. Bob Moore in El Paso has described this as the largest mass incarceration of children who committed no crime since the internment of Japanese Americans in the 1940s during World War II. So again, a lot of good questions, a lot of good comments. Cynthia and I and others who were there were really struck. There were two young men who were Donald Trump supporters, were wearing the hats, but listened to everything that was being said and then came over afterwards and said, I just want to say thanks to you for coming to our community and for showing up. And I can imagine we may not earn their votes, they may not caucus for us, but I'd love that we could have a civil conversation. One of the things that Noah and Zach were their names?
So respectful and so kind.
One of the things that Mustafa always says is that we have this chance, all of us together, not the candidate, not the campaign, but we as a country, to restore decency, to be kind to one another, to treat each other with dignity and respect. And I saw that all over Texas. Didn't matter where I went, didn't matter if people were for us or weren't going to vote for us. They were almost unfailingly kind, with just a few examples that I can think of across 254 counties. I find the same very much to be true in Iowa. In fact, the last time we were in Sioux City, this was a couple of months ago, we were at Morningside College, and there was a guy who was kind of heckling me throughout the town hall. And at the end of the event, he stood in line with everybody else who wanted to take a picture. In fact, he was the last guy in line. And he said, you know what, I just came up to apologize. That wasn't right of me to interrupt you during your talk, and I may disagree with you, but that's not the right way to do it. So a great reminder of who we are as a country at our best, that we can disagree, but we can do so civilly, respect one another, and understand that at the end of the day, you're just as American as I am, even if you come to a different conclusion on the issues that we care very much about. So,
It's a little muffled.
Yeah, that's what I
Not
don't.
holding the mic or anything.
Well,
you know what? There's a lot of noise on this plane. I don't know if that's it, or it could just be that I've got a bum phone.
And then a couple things. You're making a lot of great small dollar donations. Thank you so much. Shannon donated $20.20.
Thank you, Shannon. If you want to make a donation of $20.20 to a campaign that does not accept contributions from PACs or corporations or special interests or lobbyists, you can go to BetoO'Rourke.com and make that contribution. $20.20 or $5.15 or $300.30. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be any of those, but every dollar that you contribute goes to ensuring that we meet every single American who will help to decide this election and thereby the future and the fortune and the fate of this country. No pressure, America, but this is our moment, and we're counting on you. So we'd love to have you on this team. And we thought as long as we're grounded on the tarmac, for those of you who are just tuning in here in Sioux City, trying to get to Chicago and have some time, we'd also answer your questions. And so Cynthia's got the live stream up on her phone and is looking at the comments that are coming through. If If you have a question, pose it now. I'll do my best to answer it. If you have a comment that you want us to repeat back, if it's someone's birthday and you want us to give them a shout out, we're happy to do all those things.
And just got an update. It looks like we will be flying out at 6:30, so folks should start. They'll be coming back up on the plane around.
For those of you who are watching the live stream in Terminal 1 of the Sioux City Airport, time to get back on this airplane. Join us on the flight. We just heard from the pilot that, or maybe it's from somebody on our team, that it looks like we will be taking off at 6:30. If all goes well, fingers crossed. But as people get back on this flight, and we're here, I'm in seat 12B. Would love to take some questions.
Yeah, and a lot of folks, and I'm waiting for the questions, but there are just a lot of positive, really nice comments, a lot of support for you, Beto, and looking forward to the debate coming up. Looking forward to seeing you on the debate. Hey, Ruth, our friend Ruth from Iowa is on. Saying
Ruth from Iowa.
Yeah.
How are you? We met there are a lot of great Ruths out there. We met a great Ruth who's been showing up to events in New Hampshire and just been helping out, supporting. Really, this is kind of campaigning at its best without asking permission or being given a job or a role or responsibility. She's just showing up, taking it upon herself, and going out and helping the campaign and meeting people in New Hampshire and perhaps other states in New England to make sure that she carries the message of the campaign. So to Ruth in Iowa, to Ruth in New Hampshire, to Ruths everywhere across the country, thank you.
So I have two questions. One of them is about healthcare. They want to know what your thoughts are on healthcare. And the second one, before I forget, is again some more interest in the young men that came to our event that were wearing the Make America Great Again hats. They want to know about that.
On healthcare, we have a really great opportunity in this country right now to meet a commitment to one another that should have been done long ago. And that is that everyone is able to be well enough to live to their full potential. And that means you have access to the medications that improve or will save your life. You can see a primary care provider. You can go to a psychiatrist or psychologist or a therapist or a social worker and do so not as a function of luck or privilege or circumstance, but just as a human right, something that you can count on. That every person can make their own decisions about their own body and have access to the health care that makes that possible. Our proposal, Medicare for America, says that everyone who is uninsured, does not get care today, immediately enrolls in Medicare, connected to that provider or that medication or that therapist that they need to be at their best. Everyone who is insufficiently insured, and that means that you can't afford the health care that you have right now, the copay, the premium, the size of the deductible, it's almost as though you don't have health care because you just can't afford it. You can choose to move into Medicare. And then for those who have an employer-sponsored health care plan that they like, it works for them, or their families, those members of unions who have fought for health care plans and want to keep them, you're able to do so, or you're able to move to Medicare. We leave the choice with you. We respect your judgment and your wisdom and the experience that you're having with your health care plan in your life. And that way we get to universal, guaranteed, high-quality health care in the best possible way. And I guarantee you, as well as many are doing in this country, and then knowing that there are far too many who are not doing well right now because they cannot get that care, imagine what this country would do if everyone was hitting on all cylinders. The economic growth, the ability for everybody to participate, the jobs that would be created, the businesses that would be started, the families that would be raised, the art that would be produced. There would be no stopping this country. Healthcare is fundamental to any other kind of success that we want to enjoy as a country. So, as president, I will make this our priority, and I will make sure that you and everyone in your life is able to see that provider or get that care that allows you to live to your full potential. The other question asked was about two people who showed up to the town hall, and I think their hats said "Keep America Great," which I think is a new Trump slogan. I think they were curious from my impression. Sometimes people come to a town hall, and this is really the exception, but they come to interrupt or to make comments or to protest
or maybe just to ask a difficult question or to state their point of view. These two young men came just to listen and hear not just what I had to say, but perhaps more importantly what their neighbors and maybe family members and friends in the community had to say. And again, it was a really positive, powerful conversation about the issues that matter most that don't have to divide us along party lines. I don't know that there are many Republicans who want to see kids in cages. I know that there's a Republican president who's responsible for that. There's a Republican majority in the Senate that is allowing him, that's complicit in that. But I think there are a lot of Republicans in this country who find that offensive and want to change that. And I want to make sure that they have a home in this campaign, in our administration. I know that there are Democrats and independents and Republicans alike who worry about the fact that far too many of our fellow Americans cannot get mental health care, who tell us stories about people with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder who literally get arrested on purpose in some cases to receive care in a county jail. They shouldn't have to do that. That doesn't have to be a Democratic Party position. Let's invite everyone in this country to work together to make sure that everyone in this country can get world-class mental health care. So who knows what their impression was, except that at the end of the event, they came up and shook hands, asked to take a picture, and just said, hey, I'm grateful that you showed up to our community. It may be a community that is often written off by Democrats because the margins for Trump and other Republicans are so great in that community. You might wonder, why bother to show up and compete there? Well, we're going to show up everywhere and compete for everyone's caucus commitment, everyone's vote, everyone's willingness to participate in the success of this country. So we showed up. We were glad that they and other people showed up as well.
So Brenda Guillen, remember our amazing ambassador who came in, drove in
from Dallas.
Texas?
Yep.
Today's her birthday, so we can wish her a happy birthday.
Brenda, thank you for all of the help along the way in Texas, in Iowa. The fact, much like as I was describing Ruth earlier, you don't call for permission. You just show up and get after it and become part of this campaign. So wonderful to have been able to spend time with you on the road, and wishing you the happiest of birthdays, and hope that you're going to celebrate with family and friends tonight and have a really good time. So felicidades and saludos from the tarmac here in Sioux City.
Mary just donated $100. Thank you so much, Mary, and she also is going to hold a canvas, so keep it up, Mary.
Where's Mary?
I don't know. Sorry, I didn't catch it, but Mary Lipford. So she just posted that she donated $100.
Melinda just gave 50.
All
Right on.
So
this is so many things happening at once. Mary, Melinda, thank you to you both, and to everyone who's going to BetoO'Rourke.com to make a donation right now. This is a recap of the last couple of weeks. It's a town hall where I'm taking your questions, and it is a low-dollar grassroots fundraiser, all rolled into one.
So, two more things.
Yeah.
One of them is somebody is asking about you visiting reservations. Cheryl is asking about that.
Do you know where we're going? So
It's coming up. I can look it up, but I know
why
you have it.
don't you ask the campaign and that? Because,
Okay, let me do that so we know and we can talk about that.
So, and that was Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Cheryl, thanks for the question, and it's very much like a question that we were asked by Erica today in Sioux Center, Iowa. How do we make sure that Native American concerns and opportunities and issues are elevated in this campaign? And my answer to Erica and to you is there's nothing better than actually showing up in the first place. Cynthia's going to track down, I think when we're back in Iowa, we're going to have meetings with Native American leaders, and we'll get the answer to that. But grateful that you asked, and we'll try to live stream those meetings so we can bring everyone in to the conversation. But some concerns we have are the number of murders and violence, especially directed against women, that we're seeing right now, making sure that there are the resources to prevent these crimes from happening in the first place, but also to follow up to ensure that there is ultimately justice and accountability. And so I want to make sure that we better understand those issues and better direct resources to protect people, especially, again, women who are losing their lives. We heard the concerns about the Bureau of Indian Education and the lack of resources going to schools on on Native American reservations with Native American majority populations. Want to make sure that whether it's just funding or whether it's technology or whether it's teacher attraction and retention, which was an issue that Erica brought up today, that we're addressing that as well. Erica shared with us that her father was a principal at one of these schools and really saw the struggle to compete for resources, including for those public school educators that we really need to be able to deliver a world-class education. So we'll continue to discuss these issues, work on these issues, and then really listen to and be guided by Native American leaders in this country. Thanks for asking.
So Norm got back to us right away, and I think I'm saying this right. Meskwaki settlement in Tama County, Iowa, August 10th. It's a powwow.
Okay. The Meskwaki settlement on August 10th. This will be our next visit to Iowa, and so that's the answer to your question about when we will be with Native American leaders. So in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for asking.
And then somebody is asking, Jennifer's asking about your thoughts on 1325 and how you feel about that. Like to know a bit more about it.
Jennifer, thanks for asking the question. You're asking about a section of immigration code that can be used right now, especially under this administration, to criminalize people who are doing what any human being would do in the same situation. If the only way to save your life, or your child's life more importantly, was to flee your country, travel the length of Mexico, as many from the Northern Triangle of Central America are doing right now, and then come to this country of asylum seekers and refugees and immigrants, and yourself seek asylum for your family, you should not be criminally punished. You should not be separated from your kids. You should not be incarcerated. You should not be deported back to your country of origin. Yet that's what this president is doing right now. In my administration, we will rewrite 1325 so that no one is criminalized for doing what any human would do. We will also ensure that we never again cage another child. We never separate another family. We will spare no expense in reuniting the families who have already been separated and helping those kids who tonight are sleeping on concrete floors under aluminum blankets in Border Patrol stations in different parts of this country, including in Clinton, Texas. Make sure that those kids in Homestead, Florida, or Southwest Key, in Houston, or any part of this massive detention and incarceration system for children who committed no crime, that they are freed, reunited with their families, and that we fulfill our obligations under U.S. law to make sure that if you cannot return to your home country for fear of your life, that we provide a place for you in this country, that you follow our laws, that you follow this process, but that you also ultimately are able to, by being here, make this a better, stronger, and yes, safer and more secure country. But I want to make sure that we don't just stop there, that we move beyond that and take the most bold position possible on rewriting this country's immigration laws in our own image, reflect our values, our traditions, the realities that we learned about here at La Juanita, in Sioux City, and in my hometown of El Paso, Texas. And that might look like the following. The more than 9 million legal permanent residents, green card holders, let's make them U.S. citizens as soon as possible. Waive the citizenship application fee, remove the red tape and the bureaucracy, and ensure that they are U.S. citizens contributing to their full potential to this country's greatness. Dreamers, more than 1 million strong, let's make sure that they never again fear deportation back to a country that they really do not know, whose language they may not speak, where they may no longer have family. Let's make them U.S. citizens here in their true home country. Again, the benefit accrues to all of us in this country, given what they are going to produce and make possible by their very presence here. Millions more who are working some of the toughest jobs in America. I think of, here we are in Iowa, those could be agriculture jobs, meat packing jobs, service industry jobs, very often making a minimum wage if they're lucky. Sometimes their immigration status used as leverage against them to pay something lower than a minimum wage or to pay them nothing at all, a kind of modern day bondage that they are kept in. Let's ensure that they can come forward, register with the government. That way we know who is in our community. That makes us safer right there. but then ensure that they have a legal path to work, to be with family, to contribute even more than they're already contributing to the success of this country. I think if we do that and then help to address some of the problems that we have in the Northern Triangle countries of Central America, reduce violence, address historic droughts, reduce the need to flee those countries in the first place, we're going to live according to our values. This country is going to be much stronger. Our economy is going to be much better. And I think we will satisfy the conscience not just of this generation, but those generations who succeed us, our kids who are watching what we do right now and how we respond to the cruelty and inhumanity that we see under Donald Trump. We've got to stop that, but then also be far better than that in what we do as president. That's what we're proposing.
I have another question, but first I wanted to tell Sherry it's not a private plane. I think you might have joined us a little bit late, just to let you know we're on the tarmac waiting for the flight to take off, but we are not on a private plane.
This is my ticket to board this evening. We got an announcement from the pilot.
The ground stop in Chicago has been lifted. They give us some time here, and told us we've been allowed to take off at 6:45.
6:45. Okay. All right, but there's.
On the gate at about 8:15 this evening, as long as those numbers do hold up. We appreciate your patience, and we should.
Chicago, here we come.
All right. So Jessica is a researcher and a psychotherapist, and she is asking what your thoughts are on suicide prevention and on suicide research.
This is Jessica.
Yes.
Jessica, thanks for the question. Much of this is going to be related to another issue that we were discussing earlier on the live stream, which is mental health care and the ability to see a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker, something that is effectively denied from millions of Americans right now. And one of the worst examples is Texas, my home state, where the largest provider of mental health care services is the county jail system, and the largest inpatient provider of mental health care services is the Harris County Jail in Houston, Texas. So better access is going to mean better outcomes, and I think that's a great place for us to start. I was also talking to a woman who asked about this when it comes to kids in this country, and we talked about an idea known as community schools, where in addition to world-class instruction from public school educators, in addition to free and reduced breakfast and lunch, you also have primary and mental health care providers available for those children so that they're well enough to learn and to be at their best over the course of that school day. I think that's something we can do as well. And then I think it's really important, and actually we should listen to you on this. I don't know if you want to share in your comments, but what I've heard from people who are working on this is it's really important that all of us be made aware of the signs of suicidal ideation and are there to help someone who is in trouble, to be able to listen to them, connect with them, and then connect them with a provider or somebody who can be helpful to them. I worked for 6 years on the House Veterans Affairs Committee in Congress, and as you probably know, we have a real crisis when it comes to veteran suicide in this country. We lose 20 to 22 veterans a day, every day, by their own hand, the majority of whom were unable to get into the VA or were unwilling to get into the VA, perhaps because of the long lines at some of these VAs. So ensuring that we elevate the VA and veterans care as a priority, hire more mental health care providers, and then ensure that there's access is going to save the lives of more veterans. And one of the things we did in Congress is to expand the number of veterans who can actually get access to care, including veterans who have what is known as other than honorable discharge, which before that was passed and signed into law, prevented them from getting care, and we saw suicide rates that were twice as high as the general veterans population. So those are some thoughts and some ideas of where I think we can start, but Jessica, would love to learn from you since this is something that you're working on, and hope that you'll continue to be part of the conversation. Appreciate that.
And Roxana is talking a little, wants to hear what you have to say about Dreamers.
Yeah.
Just gonna take a drink. Roxana, as we were mentioning earlier on a question about immigration law, I think it's really important that dreamers who came here at a very young age who have contributed far more to this country's greatness than they've ever received in any kind of benefit or really anything else, that they're able to contribute even more as full U.S. citizens, and also free them from any fear of being deported back to a place that they don't know, where they may no longer have family or connections or resources or even speak the language, and where if they are sent back and they are successful against those long odds, that success will benefit that place and not the United States of America. In fact, the estimates of the windfall that the United States of America will enjoy from comprehensive immigration reform are in the hundreds of billions of dollars over the long term. So another indication that immigrants provide much more to this country, including to our economy, but also to our safety and our security than they can ever take. And so immigration is one of the greatest opportunities we have, including ensuring those dreamers are protected and are made U.S. citizens as soon as possible. So thank you for that question. Thanks for everyone. I'm really impressed when, not just in El Paso, not just in Texas, a border state, but in Iowa and New Hampshire, all over this country, people are standing up for immigrants, standing up for kids who are caged right now on the border, standing up for dreamers. Really gives me some confidence and some optimism that this country is going to be all right in the end. There's too many good people of good conscience willing to do the important work right now for it to be otherwise. But we can't take it for granted. We can't allow it to roll of its own accord. We've got to get out there and actively connect one another. And that's what we're trying to do in this campaign. And again, if you're just joining us, we would welcome you to be part of this by going to BetoO'Rourke.com. You can find out more about the positions I've taken on the issues that you care most about. You can sign up to support. I think we have more than 100,000 people already sign up to become a volunteer, to knock on doors or make phone calls or to spread the word or to bring people in. We've had hundreds of thousands of small dollar donations. I think our average donation is $30 at BetoO'Rourke.com. All people, no corporations, no PACs, no lobbyists, no special interests, our fellow Americans, real human beings. That's this campaign. And so we would love for you to join us as well. Es todo? Okay, I think we may sign off, but if this flight does not take off as promised at 6:45, we may check back in with you. But thanks for all the encouragement, the love, and the support. We send it right back at you, and looking forward to seeing you again soon. Adios.